Sentire Media.
Do you keep saying, one day I'm going to move to Italy? Well, today is that day. My Move to Italy bootcamp is back September 9th, 10th, and 11th this year, and it's completely free, totally online, and it only happens once a year. For thousands of people, this bootcamp was the turning point, the moment that things got very real. So if you're even thinking about moving to Italy, make sure you get on the list. Spots are open right now. It's totally free, but you can visit us at smartmoveitaly.com/themovetoitaly bootcamp. This is the sign that you've been waiting for. See you there. Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of A New Life in Italy. I'm your host, Samantha Wilson, and today we're heading straight into the heart of Italy, the eternal city, Rome. Now, we've seen all the postcards, we've watched all the movies, we know that Rome is incredible. But you're probably wondering what it's really like to live there. Now, I'm not talking about a quick trip where you check off a dozen must-sees in a weekend. I mean, waking up every morning in Rome, knowing the guy at your local barista, knowing his name, weaving your way through these alleyways to your favorite market, and discovering those hidden tiny little piazzas that most visitors never even notice. Today, I'm joined by someone who knows this life inside and out. His name is Doug Morris, and he has spent over 15 years living in Italy, 10 of them right in Rome. And Doug doesn't just know the big tourist attractions, he knows the back streets, the secret viewpoints, the little tiny family-run restaurants where time just seems to stop, and you're treated like a local. So in this episode, we are diving into what it's like to actually live in Rome, what neighborhoods feel like home, where you'll find the best tucked away spots, and what daily life looks like when you're not rushing through a guidebook itinerary. Doug's going to share his insider tips and even some of his own favorite hidden gems that you probably won't hear about anywhere else. So if you've ever pictured yourself calling Rome home, or just want to travel in a way that feels more authentic and less touristy, stick around. Because this is one of those conversations that might just change how you see the eternal city. I'm Samantha Wilson, Chief Dream Maker at smartmoveitaly.com, and this is A New Life in Italy, a show where each week I take you behind the scenes of what it's really like to move to Italy, introduce you to some fascinating people, answer your questions, and show you how starting a new life in Bel Paese is possible for you. So let's talk about Rome, not the polished, filtered version that you see on Instagram, but the Rome you only really meet when you live there. I'll be honest with you, I have always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with this city. On one hand, it's impossible not to be awestruck. There's nothing like walking past something that's been standing for thousands of years, just on your way to go get some groceries. Now, on the other hand, the city can test every single ounce of your patience. But here's the thing. Rome has a way of pulling you in, flaws and all. It's not perfect, and that's exactly why it's so magnetic. Life there just feels real. You can't separate the ancient grandeur from the messy, modern-day chaos. And honestly, that's what makes it beautiful. And what I love most is that Rome has its own rhythm, and you only understand it when you slow down enough to listen and hear it. Time isn't measured in hours there. It's measured in cappuccini, sipping, standing at the counter, the toll of church bells bouncing off the stone walls, and even that sound, that buzz of mopeds that are racing through the streets. It's a city that makes you pay attention, whether you like it or not. And if you're thinking about moving to Rome, even just for a few months, you'll need to understand that rhythm. And it's not the kind of city you can just drop into and expect it to bend to your will. Rome makes you adapt to it. And having someone who's lived it, who knows how to navigate its little quirks and its big contradictions, can make all the difference between loving it and wanting to pack up after 2 weeks. Which brings me to my guest today. His name is Doug Morris, and he is a writer and a traveler, and he's basically an all-around expert in Rome. And he's written a book called Rome Made Easy. But what I love about Doug is that he doesn't just write about monuments. He writes about the real life Rome, where to go, what to eat, how to avoid tourist traps, and where to find those moments that make you go, this is why I came to Italy. Hello, Doug. Nice to meet you, and I'm so glad you're on the show.
Samantha, thank you very much for having me. Feels like an honor and privilege to be speaking
Oh,
with you.
so nice. Well, listen, I live in Florence, but I've been to Rome a gazillion times. And I do remember the first time I went to Rome, which was, oh, I'm aging like 25 years ago. I've just aged myself. But the first time I went there, I remember saying, I was with my mom, and I remember saying to her, I cannot believe all of this stuff, all of these, ancient columns and ruins are just among everybody. They're not like behind glass or in sort of some display cabinet somewhere. It's just part of Rome. It's like the fabric of the city. It was extraordinary. It still is to me.
Yes, that's one of the most magical things about Rome. I mean, Florence in and of itself, I don't want to detract from the city, but it's got a completely different vibe from Rome. Rome is really a mixture of that ancient Roman and medieval and Renaissance all thrown together. And you see it all over the city, not just in the Forum,
Mhm.
which you may be talking about, but you see it in different places, like a place called the Piazza di Pietra. It's it's where the bourse for the stock exchange for Rome is located, and it's located in a building that has ancient Roman columns incorporated into a medieval building that was converted into a Renaissance building that is now the modern stock exchange. So
Extraordinary.
it is extraordinary. Rome is one of the most extraordinary cities in the world.
I completely and totally agree. And, we have a lot of people, a lot of our clients live in Rome. And when they always, when they have this decision, do I move to Rome? Do I move to Florence? And I've always, in my opinion, the way to distinguish the two is, to me, Rome is gladiators. It's this, iconic kind of place. And Florence is Renaissance. It's kind of soft and artsy, a little bit different in that way. That's my feeling when I go to Rome.
Wow, I've never heard it put that way, but that really, in a nutshell, encapsulates the differences. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I really love it there. So tell me, I know that you lived there a few years ago, but you lived there for a long time. So tell the listeners who you are and what your story is.
Well, my story is a little different. I think I won the lottery as a kid because when I was five and we were living in Indianapolis, my father, who worked for Eli Lilly and Company, decided that he wanted to live overseas. So he joined the international division, and we moved from Indianapolis to Toronto,
Mhm.
stayed there for a year, moved to London, stayed there for three. We moved to Florence. So
Mhm.
I've lived in your city as well.
Mhm.
Then we moved to Rome, then Copenhagen, then Seoul, then Beijing, then Hong Kong.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, and that's just when I was in my formative years, up to age 20,
Wow.
21. And I can say that living overseas by far is the most amazing experience anyone can ever have.
Mhm.
Every single day is an adventure. So what my parents gave me was quite literally priceless. I cannot thank them enough for the incredible life experiences that they gave me.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then later, as an adult, I retired early. I worked in IT and tech, and spent a number of years as an adult living in Rome, living in a small town outside of Rome called Viterbo.
Mhm.
I also lived in Ankara, Brussels, Pristina, and Tbilisi. So in total, I've spent over 30 years outside my passport country, the US.
Yeah.
But I can say again, without any doubt, the most amazing country in the world is Italy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but you're right. I think that Italy has, and we talk about this all the time here, that it just has so much to offer. There's so many, it's so diverse in so many ways, and you can have a number of different experiences in a very short distance. You don't have to be that far from
Again,
one region to another, and it's entirely different.
if I can interrupt, and I hate to do that, and one thing I find about Italy and Italians is that they're very welcoming.
Yeah.
They're very open to receiving you into their community, and their life is very community oriented, and the quality of life is super high.
Yeah.
And the best example I can give is, like, say for the first day you're in a neighborhood and you go to the local bar cafe and you get a coffee, and you're a stranger, but you show up the next day and they remember you.
Mm-hmm.
You're instantly a cliente. You're instantly have an identity
Yeah.
that's part of that neighborhood. And that's the beauty of Italy and Italians, is they welcome you into their community.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like human, like you're human. You're not just a number, you're not just a client. They and culturally it's quite shocking. And I think that a lot of people feel this way, but they don't quite know how to express it. It's like you are a person again, like you're part of
Yes.
something, and they see you and they listen to you and they look at you, and you're not just a interruption to their life. It's disarming
Yes.
sometimes, for foreigners, but it's definitely, I was going to ask you, what did you think is the best part about living in Rome? Is it the people?
That is a big part of it, because the people make up the communities, and each neighborhood has its own community. Um, and I would say yes, for Rome and probably all of Italy, the best feature about living in Italy or Rome are the people themselves, because they will look you in the eye. They will recognize you on the street. They will say hello to you. They will have a conversation with you. And another good example is a supermarket or in the market when you're buying something.
Hmm.
It's not just a commercial transaction like it is here in the States, where you go in and you give them money and they give you food.
Hmm.
In Italy, like, the person in front of you or the people in front of you will stop and have a chat
Hmm.
with the cashier, and they will exchange what's going on in their lives. It takes a little longer, but the connection that is made is incomparable.
Yeah.
You just do not find it in so many other countries, because that cashier is part of your community.
Yeah.
That
They will.
cashier, he or she, they may not live in your neighborhood, but they're part of your community life. And so, yes, I would definitely say that the people are one of the main reasons that anybody should consider living in Italy or Rome.
So Rome, though, is a big city and it's packed with tourists, very transient, of course, because people come and go like crazy. So did you still find that this connection was just as strong as, you said that you were living in Viterbo. So is it like different in Rome than it was in a smaller town?
It's a very good question. I thought Rome was large enough to accommodate the massive influx of global tourism after the Cold War ended, but I was wrong. Uh, that's only really in the Centro Storico, the old historic center of Rome, that has really been given over to tourism.
Hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful area to visit, but it's not one of the places I'd recommend people stay. So, but there are neighborhoods, small pockets of neighborhoods in the Centro Storico, the old historic district, where you can still find community life. But much of the community life in Rome now, and you're still living in Rome,
Hmm.
is outside of the old Aurelian Wall.
Hmm.
And the old Aurelian Wall goes 16 kilometers around the city of Rome. And it, to me, is the most amazing sight in the city of Rome that nobody ever sees. They just walk right through it, not even knowing what it is. It's been there for 2,000
Oh
years.
my goodness.
And it's simply incredible. And people just ignore it because it's not the Colosseum or it's
Yeah, they're
not the
heading
Forum.
somewhere else, right? They've
Exactly.
got their eye on the prize somewhere else for sure. Tell me about the neighborhoods. I'd love to know, what are these little neighborhoods that you think may be a good neighborhood if someone is thinking about moving to Rome and living there?
Okay. Well, if they want to live in or near the Centro Storico, a neighborhood that I would highly recommend is called Monti,
Hmm.
Monti, and it's just north of the Colosseum, but it's in between Via Nazionale and the Colosseum, so it's not really on one of the paths that tourists would walk down. So it has retained a sense of normalcy, a sense of authenticity that many places no longer have because they just have tourist restaurants or tourist stores.
Mhm.
Another place I would highly recommend is outside of the Aurelian walls. It's near the Piazza Mincio, which is Mincio, in the Copade district. And this district itself is completely unique in that it is filled with Art Nouveau architecture,
Mhm.
which the Italians call Liberty style.
Right.
And this is from the turn of the last century, around the 1900s. This neighborhood was built, and the buildings are absolutely stunningly beautiful.
Mm.
The old villas,
Mhm.
with the architectural detail, it's all artisan made, absolutely stunningly beautiful neighborhood that hardly anyone goes to visit because they go there to visit ancient Rome or
Yeah.
medieval Rome or Renaissance Rome or Christian Rome. They don't go to visit Art Nouveau Rome.
No, yeah. But
So,
these are little communities unto themselves. So they have all of you don't need to go into Centro or go somewhere else. This is you live in these neighborhoods, right?
yes, everything you need, like for example, in the Copade district, you have all the stores, all the restaurants, all the cafes within walking distance of the apartment building that you would live in.
Mhm.
And I know this neighborhood very well because I actually live there. And there's it's a mozzarella store where the mozzarella from around Naples, where they have the buffalo,
Mhm.
is made. They bring it up fresh every single morning.
Mm.
So you can go there at 6 o'clock in the morning and get a fresh ball of mozzarella
Yeah.
and have that with a fresh tomato for breakfast. And it is unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hungry. Now I'm thinking, oh my goodness. I know it's amazing. And I don't think people realize that this way of living, this lifestyle, which we started talking about, isn't absent in the cities. Yes, there's
Right.
busy stuff. There's tour shops. There's all the built up things, but there still is the way people live. There still are local Italians that have lived there for generations that expect this kind of food and expect this kind of lifestyle. And they're surprisingly untouched. It's the same here in Florence in that, people say, how can you live in Florence? There's just so many people. And I agree. I don't go into Centro because it's just way too busy. The odd time I go in, but every time I do, if it's this time of year, it's no, I'm not coming back again for a while. But we live a 10-minute walk outside of the center where all the tourists are. And there's not a tourist in sight. And
Right.
we have
And
our own neighborhood.
yeah, and I'm glad you said that because you don't really need to go into the centro. Though, if you want to see these sites, yes, you do need to go there. Oh, by the way, just popped into my head, another great neighborhood in Rome is called Prati,
Mm,
Prati.
mhm.
It's sort of just north of Castel Sant'Angelo. That's another great place to live. But you're right. In your neighborhood, wherever you are, even in a city like Venice, there are still local neighborhoods that exist.
Mm.
You've got everything that you need to 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 really take part in this community oriented quality of life where you have an identity that's rooted in that place.
Mhm. So, where are your favorite places to go in Rome? If you got to spend, I know it's hard to narrow it down, but I said, okay, tomorrow you will just surprisingly arrive in the center of Rome, where would you go?
Wow. Okay. Excellent question. The first place I would go is the Mercato Trionfale. It's one of the old, authentic local markets that still exist in Rome. And it's surprisingly, it is probably 3 blocks from the entrance to the Vatican museums. But hardly anybody knows about it because they don't go away from that entrance. So it is filled with, it's the largest market in Rome. It's filled with all sorts of different produce vendors, cheese vendors, salami, prosciutto. fish, you name it, it has it. I would first go there
Okay.
just to get a taste of Italy. Um, Another market that I would go to is the Mercato Esquilino, which is by the train station.
Mhm.
Again, you would think by the train station, probably a lot of tourists, but again, most tourists don't, it's behind the train station.
Right.
And it's in a neighborhood that, Esquilino, that is still relatively local. It's more rough around the edges than the other ones I mentioned, but it's still a very local neighborhood. And this is an incredibly local market to go to.
Right.
Another place I would go, because I like to get above the city,
Okay.
and so I like to get a view over the city. A place to do that would be at the Terrazza del Pincio, which overlooks the Piazza del Popolo. And there you can see the Aurelian Wall that I was talking about,
Okay.
because you have to go through the Aurelian Wall to get to the Piazza del Popolo.
Mhm.
Another another place with great views is at the on the Gianicolo Hill, or just on the edge of the Gianicolo Hill. It's an old fountain. It's called the Fontana dell'Acqua Paola,
Mhm.
and it the water that is coming out of that fountain flows through ancient Roman aqueducts that are still in use today. I kid you not.
Oh my
It's
goodness. I think the stories or understanding what you're really looking at maybe is what the miss is for some tourists. They think, oh, yeah, it's a fountain. I've seen a million fountains. I've been in Italy for a week. I think it's understanding what you're really looking at that gets you deeper into the experience.
that's very true, and that's where guidebooks such as my own
Mhm.
help. That's where research helps before you go.
Yeah.
That's also where I would highly recommend, like reading travel writers from 100 years ago. Samuel Clemens wrote a travel guidebook about Italy. Read about what people were seeing back then,
Mhm.
and you'll be amazed at what is still there today. The exact same thing they wrote about 100, 150 years ago are still in existence today.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's also taking your time, right? Like, instead of rushing
Yes.
through it, how long do you think somebody should, if they really want to, I mean, obviously a lifetime, it's a city that is ever changing. But for
Right.
somebody who's really spending some time to explore Rome with the idea that maybe at some point in the future, this will be their home, how much time do you think they should spend?
I would easily say a minimum of your whole vacation. I would say take 10 days.
Yeah.
And in those 10 days, I wouldn't spend your whole time. If this is the first time you're going to Italy, I wouldn't spend your whole time in museums, even though the museums in Rome are exemplary. The Vatican museums are absolutely incredible, the Campidoglio museums, but just go to the markets that I mentioned, go to the different neighborhoods, just walk around the Centro Storico,
Yeah.
walk through and get a feel for the different places. And along the way, yes, stop in a museum, but don't spend all your time there. I
Yeah.
mean, if somebody is thinking about moving to Italy or thinking about getting a taste for Italy, I am not of the ilk to travel a lot. I'm not one to try and pack as much as possible into a vacation.
Mhm.
But I mean, to be fair, if you know that this is the only time you're ever going to Italy, if you know this is the only time you will have the chance to see Italy, of course, go see the big three cities. Go
Of
see
course. Yeah.
Rome, Florence, and Venice. And that might give you that flavor, that taste, or give you the bug to come back for more.
Mhm. So, who do you think Rome is not for? Like, who would
Oh,
because it's an interesting city.
That's a difficult question to answer without sounding judgy. Who's it not for? I guess I mean, just living overseas itself is not for people who are not curious. You need to have a curiosity about what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Um, Living overseas and living in Rome is not for somebody who can't let go of expectations. Like, for example, if somebody goes there and expects it to be Des Moines, Iowa, they won't be happy there
Yeah.
because Rome is a chaotic and complicated city. And one of the things that I found growing up overseas and living overseas as an adult is learning how to temper my expectations about a place, quite literally have none whatsoever when I go in and just accept what is there.
Hmm.
I may not understand it. I may not understand why the Italians are doing what they're doing because sometimes
Yeah.
it
There's
seems a little crazy.
yeah. Yeah. Sometimes.
but it's just so you may not understand, just learn to let go and accept that this is the way it is and figure out how to navigate what is rather than trying to change
Hmm.
what is into something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. I'm going to ask you a practical question, an opinion question.
Uh-oh.
Three places. Tell me your favorite three restaurants, the favorite three places to eat. They might not be restaurants, but three places to go to for whether it's lunch or dinner or just the best coffee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's whew. Well, I would start off in the Centro Storico. I would start off near a piazza called Piazza San Lorenzo in Lucina at a restaurant called La Matricianella. They're all mouthfuls right
Okay.
there. Just the name of it is a mouthful. And I've been going to that restaurant for years. And it retains its local flavor, if you would,
Yeah.
because it's right near the parliament.
Mm,
And because it's right near the parliament, a lot of Italians still work in the neighborhood.
right.
So they go there for lunch.
Yeah.
So the quality of the cuisine is still very high. If you're looking for authentic Roman traditional food, La Matricianella
Perfect.
is the place to go.
Okay. Your favorite bar,
Oh,
coffee bar, everyone. Not your favorite nightclub, which maybe, but
right. Yeah,
your favorite coffee bar.
yeah. That is a tougher one because there are quite literally so many of them. My favorite coffee bar would be a bar in that neighborhood that I mentioned around the Piazza Mincio. It's in the Copade district. There are just a number of local little bars, cafes that are also pasticceria,
Mm,
which you know the old time pasticceria
yeah.
where in the back room they're actually making the
Hmm.
pastries, the little
Hmm.
cookies, the little pies,
Yeah.
everything are being made there. And I would find a local neighborhood like around in the Copade district or in Prati
Hmm.
or in Monti and just go to one of those. That for me would be my favorite. So I
Yeah.
don't really have one. I would just have a neighborhood that I would
Yeah.
to go to their bar, cafe.
Okay. All right. And how about your favorite, maybe overly touristy, but a spot that every tourist you think that visits Rome should go to?
You know that's an easy one. That really is incredibly easy, but strangely enough, many people A don't know it exists and B don't go there. And
Where?
it's Ostia Antica. Ostia Antica is the old port city of Rome. It's 35 minutes outside of the city by train.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the Metro card or the bus ticket that you have for Rome to get there.
Hmm.
And Ostia Antica, it is a mini Pompeii.
Really?
But instead of a volcano erupting and covering the city with ash, what happened was in the 5th century AD, when the city was, Ostia Antica was abandoned after the barbarian invasions. It had no more use.
Hmm.
So it was abandoned by people. They couldn't make a living there. No more goods were coming into the port. And so the city, because the Tiber flooded, the city got covered in mud. And it is still an ongoing excavation site. But if you want to see what an ancient Roman city was like, Ostia Antica is that. And you walk down the main drag, the main street, and on the right, everything has been excavated. So you've got the amphitheater that's been excavated, the shopping mall with these amazing mosaics on the floor of the fish cellar, of the rope cellar. You have apartment buildings, you have villas, you have everything. But then on the left hand side, there's still 30 feet of mud.
No.
I am not kidding. They haven't excavated it yet. And so you climb up that 30 feet of dirt, and there are columns sticking out of the dirt, the tops of
Oh, you're
columns.
kidding.
It is, Ostia Antica is absolutely the most amazing site to visit if you're into archaeology, if you're into ancient Rome, and you don't have a chance to go to Pompeii, because it's a mini Pompeii, and it will blow your mind.
What a great tip. I actually haven't heard of that. So I think that might be on our list of places to
Excellent.
go for sure. Now, I know that you offer or you have written books, tour books, or not tour books, but guide books. And you have one called Rome Made Easy. So tell us a little bit about that and how it's different from other travel guides.
Well, thank you for asking. The what makes Rome Made Easy different is that, I mean, I was inspired to write this because I wanted to help others have as authentic experience as possible while traveling in Rome. I also have other books. I have Florence Made Easy, Venice Made Easy, and a whole book about Italy. But for Rome Made Easy, as I told you, I was fortunate enough to have lived in Italy well before the days of mass tourism. So I know what an authentic Roman experience is like. And I wanted to put that experience in the pages of Rome Made Easy. So not only does it feature, all of the regular sites and all of the background to those sites, so you can get an idea of what it is all about. But I also have more obscure sites that make the city of Rome come alive. I feature the neighborhoods that are still authentic. I feature the markets, as I've mentioned, that are still authentic. I
Mhm.
have walking tours in the guidebook itself, taking you down all the side streets, even in the Centro Storico, because there's tiny little pockets of community where I call it the stream of tourists walk right by. And it could be one block over from that stream of tourists, but it's still a local corner of Rome. And so
Mhm.
I feature all of that in Rome Made Easy to give people the chance to have as authentic an experience as possible
Mm.
while traveling in the Eternal City.
Oh, that sounds really fantastic, honestly, because you can get so stuck in just the normal sites, and then you're there with a gazillion other people and it takes away from it. But knowing those little nooks and crannies and those special places to go are, I mean, it's just priceless for sure. So I know that I am going to put, if everybody like me wants to go get this book now, I'm going to put the links in the show notes so you can find out where you can pick it up and learn more about the books and all the other books, depending if you're traveling in other parts of Italy as well, and learn more about Doug too. Doug, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. I have a feeling we could talk for
I
hours.
think so. I think you're right. And I think we'll talk again.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you very much.
But if you loved this conversation, be sure to check out Doug's guide, Rome Made Easy. It is packed with local tips and stories like we talked about, and I'm going to drop the links in the show notes. Now, as always, if you're planning a move to Italy and need help with the practical side, like the visas and the rentals and all those little moving pieces, you know where to find us, smartmoveitaly.com. Now, before you go, let's head into the questions. It's time for listener questions. Just like the old radio call-in shows, my team has picked 3 listener questions, all left on our voicemail. I have no idea what these questions are, but I haven't been stumped yet. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question number 1. I keep hearing that renting in Italy can be tricky for foreigners. What is the biggest mistake people make when trying to secure a long-term rental? Good question. I talk a lot about how hard it is to rent, but the biggest mistake that people make is just thinking that just because they see something online that fits their criteria and meets their budget, there's lots of opportunities. And this kind of leans into the fact that I always say it's hard to rent, but I can't tell you how many people we talk to that say, I'm not worried about finding, I just need something to rent. Look, there's a ton of stuff for rent. I've seen it online. I'll just get one of those. And quite arrogantly, I will add, a lot of people are about this until they actually hit the ground or they actually try to contact the agents or the owners. So the biggest mistake is not giving yourself enough time, especially when you need a rental for a visa or for residency, that has a time on it that you have to get it done in a certain amount of time. Don't expect or don't take it for granted that just because there seems like there's a lot of property, that there's a lot of property for you. Give yourself a long runway. Make sure you have the time to find the rental. Question number 2. If I move to Italy on a visa that doesn't allow me to work, can I still run my online business for clients back home? Oh, very good question. Like, how are they going to know, right? I'm sure that's running through your head. The visa you're probably talking about is the elective residency visa, which is a visa mostly for retired people who do not work, because you cannot work when you have this visa. And this means you cannot work in any capacity for anyone anywhere in the world, including if you're running your own online business back home or you're doing consulting back home. You cannot do that. And your question is, well, how are they ever going to know? Well, this is digital work. If they want to know, there is a footprint, crumbs, there's activity. They can find exactly what you're doing if they want to. Now, the bigger question is, will they? I mean, do they even care? And I guess the question is, I don't know if they really care. They probably really don't. But every year, for example, on the elective residency visa, you need to renew your permesso di soggiorno, your permit to stay. And when you do that, you have to give the police and the immigration office your bank statements and your proof that you still are earning the income that you said you could earn or you were earning when you got the visa. And if suddenly there's an increase of income because you are working, you have to explain this. So this is one way that you could potentially get caught. So no, you are not supposed to be working while you're here on the elective residency visa. And this includes running a B&B, by the way. You can't have a house and run a Airbnb. Now, you can do it if you have a manager who's taking care of the property and not you. But if it's a B&B in your house where you're renting your rooms out, you absolutely cannot do that either. It's a very restrictive visa. But otherwise, no, you cannot work. It's okay. You just have to retire. Question number 3. How hard is it to integrate into an Italian community if you don't speak fluent Italian yet? Will people be patient with you as you learn? Well, I guess that depends on you and the people and how you approach it. But overall, the sentiment is in Italy. Number 1, you will need to learn the language if you plan to live here. You don't have to try to be as good as, learn it fluently in 6 months or, follow all the people who say you should be fluent in a year or even a few years. It's okay. Take your time. It's a journey. But the point is that usually in all cases, if you're trying, you're fine. And Italians will always work with you and be just so unbelievably patient, like surprisingly patient, not impatient, but patient with you, that, at least you're trying to give it an effort. And in some cases, you might be trying your Italian and they might just switch to English to help you. And as annoying as that might feel, you have to just keep trying to speak in Italian to them while they speak English to you. They may be just trying to do it, to ease you, to give you a little bit, more comfort, or they might be just trying they might be thinking, hey, I get to practice my English on you. So don't take it personally, just keep trying. And that's it. Just keep trying. You'll be fine. And even in your new town, they will always be patient with you, if you're nice about it, of course. Well, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about visas, citizenship, property, and well, really anything about moving to Italy that you would like me to answer in an upcoming episode, please feel free to send us a voicemail at our website at smartmoveitaly.com/podcast, or just click on the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and remember, you can find all of the resources and the links to the people and the places that I mentioned in this episode inside the show notes. Ciao for now. A New Life in Italy podcast is a production of Sentire Media, created and hosted by me, Samantha Wilson. Production by London Nero, and with special thanks to Ali Frothingham, Sofia Pisana, and the entire team at Sentire. Follow A New Life in Italy wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you're thinking of moving to Italy, whether full-time, part-time, or for a lifetime, come and see me over at smartmoveitaly.com and we'll help you get here and start living your best life. And don't forget, if you love this episode, please rate and leave a review. It's much appreciated. I can't wait to meet up with you again next week, same time, same place. Ciao for now.
Sentire Media.
Do you keep saying, one day I'm going to move to Italy? Well, today is that day. My Move to Italy bootcamp is back September 9th, 10th, and 11th this year, and it's completely free, totally online, and it only happens once a year. For thousands of people, this bootcamp was the turning point, the moment that things got very real. So if you're even thinking about moving to Italy, make sure you get on the list. Spots are open right now. It's totally free, but you can visit us at smartmoveitaly.com/the Move to Italy bootcamp. This is the sign that you've been waiting for. See you there. This episode is brought to you by the Smart Move Italy app, your free tool for planning, moving, and thriving in Italy. Download it today on iOS and Android.